Well, let's turn to Roger Kiska from the Christian Legal Centre, who is representing Mary Onuoha. Roger, thanks so much indeed for your time. When do we get a result in this case?
Well, it should be, hopefully it won't be reserved and we'll get it at the end of the trial, which will be very soon. We're hopeful on the evidence that we can prove discrimination. It is clear from the evidence we've provided that Mary was treated differently, that other religions were tolerated, that people were wearing lanyards, and secular jewellery was being worn in the theatre as well. So from our perspective, this is as clear-cut a case of discrimination as they come.
Important distinction to make. I mean, she was a theatre nurse. I mean, a really sterile area, obviously nervousness about infections. But you're saying she was singled out because of the cross on a necklace she wore around her neck, and other people were wearing bangles and hijabs. Obviously, well, there's less, you could argue, risk there. But people were wearing jewellery. Unequivocally, that was happening.
Yes, and in fact, there was one incident where Mary, during a procedure where a patient was under general anesthetic on the table, she was accosted in the theater, and the anesthesia, the doctor giving the anesthesia was wearing jewelry, was wearing bracelets that were open and uncovered. So there clearly is a distinction in how she was treated compared to others.
And you have no doubt in your mind that she was essentially persecuted for her Christian faith.
Well, it might not have been for her Christian faith, but it was certainly an intolerance towards the fact that it wasn't one of the recognized diversity religions or other beliefs. As the dress code policy says in the hospital, that they welcome, as part of diversity, other religions wearing their jewelry. Lanyards were worn, including rainbow lanyards. If you go to the NHS Croydon's site on Twitter, they post all sorts. There's a picture on the screen right now of the keys and the lanyards she was wearing in the theater. So it is an odd thing that this tiny little cross that she was wearing for 18 years without incident somehow became this issue that got her suspended and ultimately led to her dismissal.
Roger, I thought that the 2010 Equalities Act made sure that Christianity, all faiths, were protected characteristics.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. And that's why this is a discrimination claim. And not just that, but as a public body, the hospital owes a public sector equality duty to foster good relations among religions. But tolerance is a two-way street, as is diversity. If you want to promote diversity, you have to do it with an equality of arms. And singling out the cross as the one no-go zone is troubling indeed.
Was there any sense, Roger, in which Mary was proselytising? I mean, might that have rubbed people up the wrong way if she was... Because we've seen this before, haven't we? People object to somebody praying for them, or, can I have just a quick word about, ... Was Mary doing any of that?
Well, most of the patients were unconscious at the time if it was happening. But there's been no accusation that she was proselytizing. This is strictly regarding the cross.
Is it your suspicion, it's strongly mine, that the taxpayer-funded NHS is very much in hock to a set of values which are inimical to Christianity? And as you say, they embrace diversity, but the one thing they are unwilling to embrace in the mood of diversity is the foundational religion of this state, namely Christianity.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We've seen it in other cases at the NHS that Christian concern has been a part of, including praying nurses and another nurse who was wearing a crucifix in the theater. Now, health and safety, that is a legitimate reason if it is equally applied, if it's a neutral policy. The argument here is that it's not a neutral policy because exemptions were being given left, right, and center. So she was really just being picked on in a sense, and then that's the accusation being made, that there was a level of harassment that goes to the point of illegality.
Roger, in a spirit of Christian openness, I want you to put the case for Croydon if you can. They're not here to make it for themselves, but you must have listened to what they've said. They must have an argument.
Their argument is that it is a safety issue, that a cross or any necklace can carry infection. Now, hospitals under the Equality Act or under the Human Rights Act can say that there's a legitimate reason to keep it out of the theater. But that being said, 18 years she's worn that cross. It's never come off. It's never caused an infection. And there's, again, exemptions being handed out to others. So you can't say it's a health and safety issue if there is any exemptions for anyone else. So that's the case in a nutshell.
Roger Kiska from the Christian Legal Centre. Roger, really appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.